So last week we spoke about the geula, which is the idea of redemption, but it's like we're saying is that it's not just an idea. Speaking about geula, speaking of redemption, but means that we should experience it, we should feel it, we should feel what it means to be redeemed. And therefore, in this tefillah, when we speak about refuah, healing, there's a sensation that has to be felt that you should feel that you're healed. We don't have the sefer in front of us, but there's the Marid writes, one of the Chabadsker rabbis from the Einiklach with Tzemach Tzedek, not Lubavitch. He writes that what? Siddur Marid. It's a siddur with kavanas chassidus on the Einikal the Baal Shem. Yitzchak Doiv Ber. The Liad Rebbe. The Liad Rebbe is in Chabad, but not Lubavitch. So he writes that a person should be healed. Shetuchel lekabel oinige elyin b'toyv mitzvah mekor hachayim. That's what Refuah means. That we should be able to receive the highest level of oinige elyin, the highest level of pleasure from our practice in Torah mitzvahs mekor hachayim, the source of life. So Refuah means, okay, of course, if you need physically to be healed, you should be healed. But on a much deeper level, the healing is a type of openness and expansiveness that you feel. But we have to understand what that is exactly.
Is it current?
Is it current?
Yeah.
It's always current. We talked about this. Refuah is current. We're talking about current.
Meaning Refuah was current because he said the near of meaning when
in the future.
Hear us now, see us now.
Yeah, correct.
So Refuah is the same aspect.
By the end, in the beginning, you talk about the future. Refuah Hashem, you should heal us. But then you say Refuah present tense. Refuah means that there is a sensation, a feeling that you're actually healed. And we said, like Slach Lanu, the same idea, right? Altar writes in Tanya that if you can't say this bracha of it, either it's a bracha levatala. If you're not feeling the healing, whatever the healing, whatever level of healing is, if you're not feeling this healing, then you can't say that Hashem is a Refuah Yisrael. Then it's a bracha levatala. You're saying an empty bracha. Okay, so first let's talk about physical healing, because obviously this bracha is gashmius. So we said that the Avudram divides the 12 into 6 and 6. The first 6 is personal. The next 6 are going to be collective. So the first 6 things you're asking for personal things. And in the 6 itself, the first 6, this is the sixth of this is the fifth. I'm sorry, this is the fourth of the middle 6. So in this bracha, it's also the first 3, which is tshuva, slicha, and geula, is ruchnis, spiritual things, mental things, emotional things, inner things, and refuah and parnasa, livelihood, health and livelihood, and the kabbalah shofar, which we'll understand what it is for physical things, like physical correction. So it's certainly talking about also physical correction. No. Atachoinen. Yeah, Atachoinen, she was correct, right? Yeah, correct. Okay, so what is this idea of refuah? So refuah simply means, it means simply to be healed, and it's connected to gula. It's connected to this redemptive state, and it's connected also, obviously, to das. That a person has das, to understand. A person has awareness, correct awareness, is able to ask for healing. But healing, this is a very important part of this picture here, is that, okay, so the Rambam writes that that to be healthy is medarka avodas Hashem. It's medarka avodas Hashem, medarka Hashem. It's the ways of a person being correct. If a person's healthy, that's the way of serving Hashem correctly. Is that a person has to be healed. There's a letter that the Magid of Mezrich wrote to his son Avraham Malach. And it's printed in Atamim, and the letter says that Akleina Lechela in Guf is Agoyse Lechela in the Neshama. That a small hole in the body, which is a person's not feeling well in the body physically, the small hole in the body, that creates a tremendous defect on the spiritual self. Or the famous teaching of the Baal Shem, as brought down in Kesef Shem in the beginning, that Bereshis Bar, it's obviously a play on words, that Bereshis Bar begins at the beginning Hashem created, but Bar also comes from the word Brius. So Bereshis is Bar. The first thing you need is Brius. The first thing you need is your health. just to make this a little bit understandable, why is this that important? Of course, if a person's not healthy, you can't daven, you can't learn, obviously. But there's actually something much more deeper and subtle, because in life there's a sensation and there's a narrative. We have two things that's going on continuously. The sensation is actually something we're feeling in our body. The narrative is what we're telling ourselves why we're feeling this thing in our body. So let's say, for example, you're feeling depressed. Let's say you're feeling very lethargic, you're feeling down. So you ask yourself, why am I feeling down? Everything's really working out, everything's beautiful in my life, why should I be feeling down? And then your mind finds up some reason, says, oh, the reason why I'm feeling down, oh, because this guy told me this other thing, or because my business, or because of this, my wife, I don't know. You make up some reason. But the truth is that you're just attaching a story to a sensation, which means the reason why you're actually feeling down is because you're tired. You're physically tired, or you're hungry, or you ate too much. Whatever it is, you have low blood sugar. There's a physical sensation that's going on within your body, and the person needs to make sense. We need to make sense out of sensations. There's a very interesting study. It's not again so much a study, but it's an interesting nakuda. Is that they took a person in a room, and an examination room, and a doctor walks in and examines the person, and whatever, it says, how's your hands? Does an examination, walks out, they release laughing gas in the room. And then the doctor comes back 20 minutes later, and as the doctor walks in, the guy starts laughing. And he's examining, and the guy's laughing his head off. When they walk out, the doctor walks out, they ask the guy, what was so funny? The doctor walked in once, and he said, oh, because the second time they walked in, he walked in funny, and he was smiling, and his breath, he made up a whole different reasons, and the real reason it was just laughing gas, which means there's a reason that we feel certain things, and we identify those things right away with a reason, because our mind, our intellect, our intelligence needs to make reason of a certain sensation, doesn't understand that the reason why you're actually feeling so down is maybe go take a nap, have a bagel. Don't you come into your house and you're all nervous and you think you're getting nervous because your children are acting, jumping on the walls. That's not the reason why you're getting nervous. You're nervous because you haven't eaten in 8 hours, or whatever. You understand? There's a physical sensation, and therefore you're connected to a narrative. I know it says in Sforim that you should do cheshbon nefesh by night before you go to sleep. I don't know, because I think that it doesn't really work so well. Because every time a person does cheshbon nefesh by night, I promise you, especially if you're tired, your life is going to look like terrible. You do a cheshbon nefesh, you think, oh, your whole life is falling apart. So I think like a Thursday night, you should do a cheshbon nefesh. It's brought to Mardu Cheshbon. The Zohar says, I understand you should do a cheshbon nefesh, you're accounting of the soul, you should think about your life, but do it after a decent meal, when you don't feel hungry, and all the body parts are all functioning. In the language of the Baal Shem, you need haskamas evorim to daven. Haskamas evorim is you need the consent of the body. If you don't have the consent of the body, your body is going to pull you in all different directions, and your mind is going to pull you in other ways because it doesn't know that. So, Refeinu Hashem, that we ask to be healed, physical healing, is a very important part of this the whole Avodas Hashem, really what the Ramban writes. Because if you're not feeling well, of course, if you're not feeling well, you're not going to do that. But that's not even talking about that. If you're just not feeling correctly in your body, if your body's not in the right place, you're going to feel 100,000 reasons why you can't do this and you shouldn't do this, or you're down, etc. So
that applies not only physically, that applies to emotional as well.
About it? What do you mean emotional? About?
You said physically.
Yeah.
So it's also emotional.
About it? Yeah, sure, of course. So you have to realize that. And the mind is always going to play tricks with you and going to give you reasons, that the reason is this and the reason is that. That's not true. That's not the reason. You're just hungry. Next time you have an argument with somebody, just make sure the person eats, pass a bagel, give him a bed, give him a nice drink, and all of a sudden the whole conversation changes. So you have to understand that. Okay. So the Refuah Hashem, Nei Rafeh, Shem Nei B'Sheikas Nei Odav Alei Ruch Ufu Shlem Achum Gesenu. Alei Ruch Ufu Shlem Achum Gesenu. Refuah Hashem Nei Rafeh. Okay, so you say Refuah Hashem Nei Rafeh. We mentioned before that there's this is the Medrash, the Machzavit. We said this is connected with the bris. That when Avram received the bris, the Malach Refuah said Refuah. This is really what the Gemara says. The Gemara says in Megillah, Yizayin, the Gemara says that why is Refeinu b'Shmini? Why do we say b'Shmini? Why do we say it at the eighth bracha? Why is it the eighth bracha? So the Gemara says because like a bris, after just like bris is b'Shmini, and then you need a healing. It's the first time the body needs to be healed. So therefore we say Refeinu Hashem with the idea of healing. Also will be corresponding to the month of Iyar, which is also the 8th month, if you count from Tishrei. And it's Iyar is Chodesh Haziv, and Iyar Shem Refecha, and it's the idea of Refuah, correct. Shemesh is Merapa, etc., etc. Pinchas Akards, again, I saw this interesting thing. He said that if you have to take medication, you have to start a prescription, you should start in an ear. So from Pinchas Akards, he also says that if you're not feeling well and it's an ear, you should go outside and get the sun rays. Okay, that's already a Mashal Nivamas also says that the sun gives healing. That's why it's a Chodesh Haziv, Chodesh Refuah. I'm saying, if you have a prescription, it's already in this sun, there's a possibility that you could start an ear, do it in the ear. And he also says you should walk outside, and when it's raining, you should open your mouth and drink the water that comes down. So this is, I don't know if you know. That month, the Chodesh ear. And that is the ear is a healing rains that you should drink it. Okay. Let's try to understand this idea of refuah, what's connected. Why is refuah connected specifically to the number 8? What is the number 8? So the number 8, there's a Tshuvas HaRashba. If you look at the first Makar, it's Shalos Tshuvas, it's Erchaim Simultaneous. There's a lashon of the Rashba that says that Shmini is Shomer HaHekef. The Shvi is the Hekef. Shvi is like the cycle. You have something like something that has a complete cycle. So you have the 7 days of creation, which is a cycle, and the 7th and the 8th is the Shomer Hekef, something that surrounds it and protects the Hekef, protects the entirety.
So it's also number 1 for the next.
So we're going to talk about this. Why does that mean? Well, yeah, we'll see that in a second. We're going to see that in a second. Yeah. So this is Shmini. The Maral talks about it, about Oz Yosher. Oz is Aleph on top of Aleph Rechav Alazayin. But it's a hekef that's on top of the 7th, that comes at the completion of the 7th, that's higher, and also the beginning of something else.
Like the one that, like the Kohen Gadol, Yuma. Afishing Kohen Gadol, Shivayam and Kodem, like 7 days.
Yeah.
Preparation to the 8th day.
Correct. Because the Sefes Kisha, exactly. Okay. But let's understand, where do we find the number 8? Okay, so obviously 8 is the Negea, what we're talking about over here. Where do you find the number 8 in the Torah? Shmini Atzeret is also, yeah. So there's two real big times of Shmini, which is, one is Vahi B'Yom HaShmini Hukum HaMishkan, the Kamas HaMishkan is B'Yom HaShmini, and obviously the first Yom HaShmini is Mila, correct. So there's a medrash. There's a medrash in Medrash Tanchuma. If you have the marker, if you don't, we're going to read this very quickly. Ma'aser Shal Ravus HaRasha is Rabbi Akiva. Eza Ma'aser Noim. Which one is better? Which one is better work? Which is nicer? Ma'aser B'nei Adam, Ma'aser Kadosh Baruch Hu. Which handiwork is nicer? What Hashem does or what man does? So Rabbi Akiva says the Bas V'Dam Noim, that what man does is much nicer. So he said, so he answered him, but who made the heavens and the earth? Could man make this work? So he says, don't talk about things that are very transcendent. Talk about life itself. And then he asked him, why do you circumcise yourself? Why do you do circumcision? So Rabbi Akiva answered him, that really, when you ask me what's greater, man's work, Hashem's work, I knew that's what you're asking me. You're asking me about Mila, about circumcision, which means Hashem created man perfect. Okay, man was created a certain way, and then we say we're doing a bris, which means that you're perfecting on the creation of the Creator. So who's greater? So Rabbi Akiva already anticipated the question. Says Ma'aser B'nei Adam is greater, and then he brings a mashal of this, that he says what's greater, stalks of grain or bread? He brings them stalks of grain or bread. He says obviously bread is greater, which means it's a betterment on the creation itself. Okay, that's the idea of Shmini the bris. Is that it's a betterment on the creation itself, which means the creation is created in a certain way, and to create better. So The bris is you take what is and you make it even better.
Does that mean that women are perfect?
Ishikam the Milyadami, yeah. The Gemara says that, they're already, yeah, in some level, yeah.
That's my.
That's much like Hakadosh Baruch Hu, huh? Correct. On some level. Okay, so let's just think about the second, whatever. This is already getting to politics, but let's say like this. There's a number 8, and the 8 represents Maisa B'nei Adam, the man actions that is perfecting on the creation. Okay, so let's think about this. And what's the other form of 8 is B'yam Hashmini Hukum HaMishkan, which is the creation of the Mishkan. Okay, this week's parsha. Which means that 8. Let me say how the way it's mostly thought about and the way it's talked to emes. We think about it like this: 6 represents Ma'aseh B'nei Adam. That's Ma'aseh Bereshis, Oil Mateva, which is the natural world, right? That's the number 6. So 6. That's why it's a cube. It represents the 6 ksavos. The Maral again has a whole long arichas about this. That the fullness of creation is actually in the number of 6. That's why Shishim Ribu, whatever. This is the fullness of 6. 6 represents all directions in its fullest expansion. Okay, that's 6, which is the world of teva, of nature, and the world of gvul, of define. That's the definition of a sixth, of 6. Something that has definitions up, down, right, left, up, and front, center. So it's a box. It's a merubah, something that's boxed. Then there's the number 7. So what is 7? 7 is the Yom HaShvi. The Yom HaShvi really is this Kama Shabbat and Basa Shabbat, right? The Gemara Pesachim says that there's 2 ways how to read. There's actually a few ways how you can think about Shabbos. One is, like the Gemara says in Shabbos, that if as a person is traveling in the midbar of Eleni de Masa Shabbos, so you count 6 days and you keep the 7th, or you count the 7th and you keep 6, right? In that structure, weekday, the structure of the week is a line, is linear. In the structure of Kama Shabbat, Basa Shabbat, which is 3 before, 3 and there, then Shabbos is the midpoint, and this is where it says the Ramak actually makes a picture of this in the Pardas, and also the Reishis Chachma. But if it's the midpoint, that means that it's actually a center point. Shabbos is the center, that it's the wheel, it's an axis, like you have the point within the axis, and if the circumference of is actually 6 times the amount of diameter, so it's exactly 6 times the 7th point, which means the Shabbos is the center point that's containing the entire circle that's around it. Everything, all the days of the week are revolving around the center point. So from the point of Shabbos, which is the Nekuda, Shabbos represents the circle, the nucleus, correct. So Shabbos is the center point, which is the Nekuda, which represents the circle. Okay, so you have in another way of saying it is that let's think about it in a different way of saying this. 6 days of the week, 6 days of the week, 6. The number 6 represents a place of linear, which means ambition, strive, drive. That's what linear means. Linear means that there's aschala, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. So you're starting at this point. Let's say you start off, let's say financially, you have $1 in the bank. Hopefully, the time when you reach a certain age, you'll have this amount of money, and then you'll have that amount of money, right? So it's incremental. It means you're moving through life incrementally, which is a line. Let's say even learning. Say when I was young, I learned this amount, and now I learn much more, and then eventually learn more, and then I went more. Which is in the world of strive, there's movement, there's linear movement. That's the definition of a line. A line means that you're moving from one point to the next point. There's das Cholas Ma'aseh Bereshis, and there's Tachlis Ma'aseh Bereshis, and you're moving from point A to point Z. Life is a line, and you're constantly, hopefully, progressing upwards, not going down. Right? That's one way of looking at life. And that's the world of desire, of longing, of ambition. That's the place where humans participate in this world, is the place of 6, which is the place of linear. What's Shabbos? What's the Nekuda of Shabbos? The Nekuda of Shabbos is, the point of Shabbos, the Oimik of Shabbos is, Kol Malachta Chasuya. Everything's already done. In the perception of Shabbos, and the Sasemus brings down the Chlusharim, that everything that's done is not only physical, but also spiritual. Which means when your person reaches Shabbos, Kol Malachta Chasuya, you should understand that you're actually perfect. Not that Kol Malachta Chasuya means I couldn't have done it, I could have made this money, or I could have reached this madrega, and I didn't reach it. Okay, so Kol Malachta Chasuya, now Shabbos I have to forget about it. That's one way of thinking about it. But really, the oimik way of thinking about Shabbos is that Shabbos, you reach your place of perfection. There is no more ambition. There is no more desire. There is no more longing. Because what you are right now is its perfect place. financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the state you are, you're in the place of perfection. This is a madrega of the nekuda, of the point, or the circle, which is that there is no progression, there is no movement, because it's the opposite of movement. Movement represents I'm moving from one place to the next place. That's linear. The opposite of movement, which is the nekuda, is that's it. I'm here. You're following? This is the two nekudas of a line and a circle, or a line and a nekuda. These are the two nekudas of this idea. And so then, if Shabbos is the center of the week, so what is the general understanding of Shmini? Shmini is, what do you think the eighth? That eighth represents Lamaila, something that's even higher than that. There's the natural world, and in the natural world there's these two movements of movement and no movement, of Shabbos and the weekday, and there's something that's eighth, which is above nature. Lamaila derech hateva. That's the general conception, right? That's Lamaila derech hateva. It's higher than nature. But the truth is that if you look in the Torah and you read what the Torah says about Yom HaShmini, it doesn't seem to say that. Because Yom HaShmini, what the Torah actually says, what happens on Yom HaShmini? Let's say we talk about this week's parsha about the Mishkan. What's the Mishkan? The Mishkan, at least according to the Ramban and the Zohar, the Mishkan is to replicate Matan Torah. To take what happened to Matan Torah, right? It's not a concession like Rashi says of the Egel, but it's to recreate Kaviyachol, the Bria, or the Izgalus HaBriya, the revealing of the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the creation in real time. How could I take the conception, the spiritual conception of the world, on a spiritual realm, and make it reveal in a practical way? That's why it has the three, like we always spoke about, the three levels of the three worlds. That's why there's Kodesh HaKadoshim, Kodesh and Azara, right? Because they represent the three worlds. And the inner world is very quiet. There's no speech. It represents the high Elam Atzilus. And every Madrega represents less and less, which means more removed and more removed. So everything that you're doing in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Mishkan, is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, means I want you to be a participator, Shutav Ma'aseh Bereishis. I want you to create what I created in the beginning of Bria. I want you to create it now. So what is Yom HaShmini? Yom HaShmini in the Mishkan is not L'mayla Derech HaTeva. Wait a second, we'll see in a second why it is and it isn't. It's not L'mayla HaTeva. It's actually human participation. That's what L'mayla HaShmini. If Yom HaShmini is Mila, what's Mila? Mila is human. Just like what the Rabbi Kiva answered. That's basically the Adam. That's what Yom HaShmini. Yom HaShmini is human participation. So wait a second. Yom HaShmini, human participation was 6. That was human participation. Yom HaShvi is Vayishavas, is that we rest from human participation. Right? If you have 6 days a week, I'm working. 7th day, I'm resting. And then what's the 8th day? I'm working again. And the lashon of the Medrash is that it's metakin. There's a certain bria, and by Yom HaShmini, which is by Hukma Mishkan, and by Bris Mila, human participation is needed, is required. But human participation is from the dynamic of 6, not the dynamic of 8. Elo yesh loimar. Not yesh loimar, this is the way to understand. This is what the Raja writes, is really Shema Hekef. Shema Hekef means it's l'mayla m'derech hateva b'soich teva. It's the nes that's melubish in teva. 6 days a week is teva. Shabbos is the nes. Yom HaShmini is the nes hamalubish b'teva. Afil b'al nes ein makar b'nisoy is a higher madrega of a nes than the nes of Shabbos, because the nes of Shabbos, in order to enter, let's think, in order to enter the nes of Shabbos, which is the miraculous time of Kol Malach L'Chasoya, is I don't have to do anything. So what do? I don't do. Which tells me, in order for me to be in this madrega of Shabbos, I have to stop being me. On some level. Look, because normally, let's say I'm a painter, I'm a writer. This is what I usually do. Comes Yom HaShvi, he says, if you really want to enter the Shabbos, I have to stop doing it. I can't play my instruments, I can't draw, I have to stop doing it, I have to enter into the spiritual realm, which means the nes shatters the teva. Teva, 6 days a week, I'm being me, in a certain particular way, comes along Shabbos and says, in order to enter into this madreg of the nes, which is something that's transcendent of nature, higher, it's an akud that's higher than the madrega of movement, I have to stop being. I have to stop moving. If I have to stop moving, how do I enter Shabbos? By not doing. So that's what the Ikar idea of Shabbos is, don't do. Right? The Ikar idea of Shabbos is not the essay, the Ikar idea of Shabbos is the leis essay. Okay, there's also a Zachar, but the Ikar idea of the and even the Zachar is a Shailach. I mean, you can look in the Rambam that he says Zachar because Zachar Sima Shabbos Zakachi, we learn from Zachar Sima Zechitzias Mitzrayim. But the idea of Zechir means is a conception. I just have to be Zechir. But what do you have to do? Not do. That's Shabbos. So Shabbos is the non-doing. Weekday is the doing. Doing means the natural world. Shabbos is the transcendent world. That's why it's Mapnimi and it's Matanas and Matana Basic Gnuzai. It's something that's hidden. It's something that's transcendent of this world, and therefore it's Asana Kadosh Baruch Hu Biyachad, right? And it's Chem Gnuzai. All these things is because it's something that's transcendent of this world. In order to enter this place, I have to give everything up. I have to give up my desires, my longings. I have to be Kamalach Klasuya. I don't want anything anymore.
I saw last week the Archav, he says the Gematria Shabbos is the 611 mitzvahs that were given to us by Teva, like not from Hashem, plus the shape, both Shem Hashem, Shem
Havaya Neter. Yeah, right.
That equals 70. That's
right.
Shabbos.
So that's the point, because it's higher. Because Shabbos is L'mayla Teva. That's the idea. So Shabbos you're getting out of your Teva. Okay, so then what's Yom HaShmini? So Yom HaShmini, so what's the two mitzvahs? Yom HaShmini is the bris, and the Yom HaShmini is Hukum HaMishkan. Bris says the Yom HaShmini Teva of a person is an oral, and comes along with the mitzvah of Yom HaShmini, says, no, I want you to participate. But Avram was not nimel to Litzivui, which means somehow Avram was Kim Kol to mitzvah Ashla Nitna, it was Mekayim all the mitzvahs, but he wasn't Mekayim mitzvahs Mila. Why? Because mitzvahs Mila is a chiddush. What's the chiddush in mitzvahs Mila? Avram can go out of his teva. It's easier to get out, but Avram can't be a nois afachim. Avram can be beteva and not beteva biyachad. Only if that's not b'koyach hanivra. B'koyach hanivra, the koyach of the person is either he's b'li gvul or gvul. I can be gvul or I can be gvul. You want I should be disciplined? I can be disciplined. You want I should be excited? I can't be excited and disciplined at the same time. I can't have a hafachim biyachad. There's a lashon Sifra what the Ramban brings down. Ein avir shoyra b'makom echad el b'avodas Hashem. That you can't have two opposite moods. I can't go out and in at the same time. I can't be expressive and not expressive at the same time. Either I'm expressive or I'm not expressive. Right? Shabbos, I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to be ambitious. Fine, so I'm quiet. The madrega of Yom HaShmini is paradoxical, if you want to say the right word, that it's saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, it's l'mayla m'derech hateva, b'derech hateva. I need you to participate in b'derech hateva and know that you are l'mayla m'derech hateva. Because what are you going to do? You're going to make a bris. And what are you going to do? You're going to make a mishkan. You're going to be his galus alakus. It's going to be revealing of Hashem's presence in this world, of a transcendent light. That's higher. That's why it's a bris. A bris comes from Yigim Sarachim. It's a higher revealing of light, but it's a higher revealing of light in your participation. You're following this thread. That's why it goes back. There's a whole other Torah about Purim. Why Purim is the highest madrega. It's higher than Yom Kippur because of this madrega. Because Purim is taka with taka begashmias. But this is the nakuda of the eighth. So the eighth. Now, very interestingly, there is in the Arizal writes that in a bris, what you do in a bris, you take the aver, which is bedugma, a line, which represents zor ampin, which is ambition, desire, expression, the midas, right? That's what zor ampin is. And then what you do is through the bris, you megala da Torah. You're revealing the crown, and the crown is a circle. That's why it's malchus. That when a person does a bris, this is the kavanah sari. When a person does a bris, what you should have an intention is that you megala the malchus in your side. The malchus in your side. Your side is the aver, and the aver is a line. And what you're doing in the line, you're revealing a circle. What you have now is a circle and a line. That's by Yom HaShmini. So Yom HaShmini is a circle and a line. Because the line represents the 6 days a week, the circle represents Yom HaShabbos. But Yom HaShmini is a circle and a line. Let's think about this in terms of refuah, and we'll see how this actually works, fascinatingly, according to Chazal. That there's a refuah in a madrega of 6, there's a refuah madrega 7, and a refuah madrega 8. There are 3 different levels of refuah. Refuah and healing on the level of 6 means it's linear. I'm sick. I go to a doctor. I get well. Okay. And then, whatever. And then it repeats itself. Maybe next week I get sick. I get a doctor. I get well. It's a linear progression, and healing is a tikkun in olam hateva. There's derech hateva. You have your foot broke. Okay, you need crutches. You need to wrap your foot in a band so it should be straightened, and therefore you'll be healed. This is the linear. This is the olam hateva, refua and olam hateva. Yeah. It's by definition in the world of chesed, in the world of choila. Choila is 49. So the reason says that the reason why is gematria 49 because it's v'tachasrei ma'atma lakim. It represents the madrega that you're not shar chamishim. You're not yet there. You're always trying to get there. That's the choila. Choila's ava. Person is lovesick, which means I want to get there. I want to be there. This is the choila is a place of chisarn, and what medicine does, what a doctor does, is remedy the chisarn, fixes the issue, but doesn't go to the root of it. Or if even it does, it's in the world of chisarn, some type of perfection within the world of chisarn. What's the madrega of Shabbos? What's the madrega of the 7th level of healing? The 7th level of healing is I'm not sick. The line means I want something to change. That's the definition of the line. I am not in a good place and I'm getting to a better place. That's the definition of movement. There's a chesarn. I'm trying to make up the chesarn. I'm trying to be better. Trying to get better. I'm trying to make more. This is in the world of chesarn. Yom HaShabbos, Kol Malach Chasui, everything is already done. What's the nekuda of a person feeling healed on Yom HaShabbos? The nekuda of what it means to be healed on Yom HaShabbos, the madrega of Shabbos is David should create me exactly the way I am, and everything's perfect. I don't have any dagas parnasa. I don't have any problems with illness. Exactly, the Ratzon Hashem was revealed to me in this very moment, and I have full acceptance of that thing. Right? Just Kol Malach Chasui, I believe that all my work is done. So everything that has to be done is exactly done. The world is perfect. So the world is perfect. That's why a person can daven. You're not allowed to daven for a fool on Shabbos. Why? Shabbos. But when you say Shabbos Himelizik for Krevel Lavi, what do you say?
Where's that from?
What? Yeah.
No, it's a tefillah.
Yeah, it's a tefillah. But I think it's in the Gemara. I think it's end of Shabbos.
Mara says when you give out the you say that.
Yeah. It's a Gemara. So, but the lashon Shabbos refua Krevel Lavi. What's the refua Krevel Lavi? What's the lashon? And healing is very close by, because Shabbos Himelizik means on the madrega of Shabbos you can't ask for healing. Refuah Krevel Lavi is madrega 8. That the refuah is close by, which means we're going to get to the 8th level. On Shabbos, you're following? Shabbos Himelizik, because on the 7th level there's no refuah. What do you mean refuah? You're refuah. The Eibusha healed you exactly how the Eibusha wanted. You're healed. Refuah Krevel Lavi, you're going to get to madrega 8, and the madrega 8 you're going to actually be healed. But you're not allowed to ask that on Shabbos, because Shabbos is madrega 7. So what's the madrega of 8? So 7 is perfection. 6 is imperfection. I need healing. Even the Refreinu Hashem b'nei Rafeh, the Rakachava says that when you say Kol Machal something b'mitzayim lo yasem alecha kani Hashem refecha, doesn't make any sense. Kol Machal something lo yasem alecha. I'm not going to put this machal on you because I'm Hashem your healer, and you don't need to be a healer. If you're not going to make me sick, I don't need to be healed. Kol Machal something lo yasem alecha kani Hashem refecha, because I'm your healer. Don't be a healer. And if you're not giving, if you're my healer, it means I'm sick. If I'm not sick, what are you going to be a healer? So what does it mean the pasuk? So the Rakachava says that this is that it's oikel mafreya, that the refuah Hakadosh Baruch Hu is oikel mafreya. So kol machla is something lo yasem alecha. But if you do get sick, ani from as if lo yasem alecha. The refuah being away, sometimes you get well. Okay, people get well. Their right foot doesn't hurt, but all of a sudden the left foot started hurting because they're limping on the right foot. So they had crutches. Okay, mazel tov. So now they have no crutches. Now the left foot starting. The side effects. Ani will make you such a healing that it'll undo. That it will be as if lo yasem alecha, like it never happened to begin with. This is one madrega. The second madrega with the 7th level is that I don't need to be healed. Everything's exactly perfect. The 8th madrega is a hybrid between these two levels, because the world is perfect. The Eibusha made oral. Ma'aseh Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibusha made oral. But there's a mitzvah that says that you have to do Mila, which means I'm recognizing that in the Bria that the Eibusha said that this is the perfected world, the way the Eibusha created, and it's already perfect. The Eibusha said, I want you to participate in the unfolding of this process to reveal Hashem's presence in this world, and therefore he takes the davar, the most gashmis, the most physical thing, and bring Hashem's presence in there. In the lowest madregas, wherever you want to use that language, right?
Like the just practical level that like on 6 I'm in the most chaotic place where the world literally is going to cease to exist. And then God, in whatever world, creates that world again. So 8 is really the first day I realize I'm still alive, and that thing you described before, where as humans we progress, we still get to progress on that same level. Not everything's gone.
I would say, if you want to say it, I would say it a little in different language. 8 means the awareness. We're going to see how the Ramban learns, because it's very interesting how the Ramban learns this whole thing with healing. But 8 means the awareness that I'm perfect and imperfect simultaneously. And when you realize that the Hashem created the world in its perfection, and yet I'm not perfect, all the tension just goes down, all the anxiety goes down. Because when a person is living in the 6, it's like, oh, I have to do this. And if I don't do this, I'm not going to make money. If I don't do this, it's not going to happen. Because I only live in the world of 6, in the world of ambition, the world of reality of that. See English? Oh. Why is the problem?
No problem.
Okay. Is because, you understand? That's the world of 6. And the world of 6 is because I'm in a constant state of panic. I have no trust. I just see what I have to see, and I see this is the way it has to be done. In the world of 7, I'm perfect. I don't need anything. I'm happy. Like everything's good. And the world of 8 it's taka, everything is great, but Hashem wants I should do it. And this is the godless of recognizing in the place of the perfection, where everything's actually exactly the way it should be, Hashem wants me to participate. Where does it show up? It shows up in the bris, because the world is perfect. It shows up also in the Mishkan, which is dafka in the level 8. And in that, we said before, what you have is, in the Torah Sari, you have this idea that you're revealing a circle within a line. So it's not an either or. It's not a circle or a line. You're revealing the Atar Liyisoid. You're saying that there's an Atar, there's a line, which is ambition. Even the Rambam writes that the reason why a person has a bris in that part of the body, why do you have a bris on your nose? Why do you have that part of the body? So the Ramban writes is to temper a little bit your desires, which means it's a little tzimtzum. So you say that that's the place of the person's desire, that's the place of the person's passion, and representative of a person's passion. Yom Kol Zachar, that's the Chazal learned from the word Zachar, the place of the Zachars of a person is. Zachar is the place of the ambition, the desire. Nukva is the opposite. Nukva is the receiver, is Nekev, something that's holding the ground. And in the place of the Zachar, that's the place of the bris. That's you have to do the bris. Okay, so you have the line and the circle. In Chazal, you find a fascinating thing where to get refuah, to receive refuah, you have to circle a square. Look what the Gemara says in Smachas. The Gemara says in Smachas like this. You have the marker in front of you. If you don't, you don't. It talks about the Din Avelis in Yud Aleph, Masechta Smachas. Perek Shishi Yud Aleph. Perek Yom Rishon Beim Hashini talks about the days of Avelis when a person can go into the Chatzar Beis HaMikdash or not. When you could go into the Beis HaMikdash, to Har Bayis. And B'shlishi Nichlas U'Makiv Derech Smoil. And then the Gemara says like this: who is Makiv Derech Smoil? Because generally you have to go around. Kol Pinson to Point, you have to go Derech Yamin. But if it's small, right? The Mishnah says also Yuma, you have to go Derech Smoil if you come in Avelis. So you have to go Derech Smoil. And a person has a chayil b'seich beisai should walk around the azara b'derech smoil. And the Gemara brings down a ma'isa shahaya. We don't have the story here. It's on the next page. That the Gemara brings down a ma'isa b'isha achas. That's all we copied. Okay, ma'isa b'isha achas. That the Gemara said there was the lady that was sick, and she had a sick child. She took the child, and she walked around the Azara. She walked around the Beis HaMikdash, which is a square space, right? She walked around the Azara. She walked around the Mizbeach, really, that's in Makam HaMizbeach. She walked on the Mizbeach, and that's how she was healed. So circling the square allowed for the bracha of healing to come. Yerchap, because it's B'yem HaShmini. That's the Madreg of Shmini. It's the same Nukud of the Bris. There's a in the Magid Mesharim from the Rebbeis of Cairo brings down a Parshas Emor. You have the Mar Mekoymis, and you see it says, it talks about to walk around the caver. You ever saw the Mukabalim walk around the Kavarim? And if you walk around the caver, it's also to make a circle around this idea, because the caver is Makam Mashchina, there are Gra rights. So there's something about moving around, the same thing also circling. And in the last Mar Makim, this is a sefer from Shailas Trubus of Yitzchak Kaduri. I know you. Shailas Yitzchak Kaduri, really? Shailas Yitzchak Kaduri? Yes. There's a Shailas Yitzchak Kaduri. They put out a sefer that if you don't think it's interesting, there's a Shailas Yitzchak Kaduri. Then the whole thing doesn't. And you know what Yitzchak Kaduri was? He was a big makubal, but there's a sefer called Shailas Yitzchak Kaduri, Divrei Yitzchak. It's an interesting statement. I don't know. Anyways, in the back he brings down V'Soid Yishar. First he brings down Mesechus Machas. Oh, here he brings down the story. Ma'aseh be'isha shechala bna ve'kifas azara. There was a ma'aseh. There was a woman that was sick, and her kids were sick, and then he brings down from the he brings down from Sefer Aguda that from the Rishonim. Mish yesh l'choyl b'seich beisoi. You should walk around, and he says it's a minig that you find in many svarim. And after the Beis Hamikdash was nechrav, makifim as ateva dugim sakafas azara. You should be makif the teva, the bima, which is a square. You should makif it, and v'nogu lahavi hachoy la'atzmi lahakif. And there was even a minig to actually bring the sick person to walk around the teva, and you makif the teva seven palm, and you say ana b'koyach. Because Ana B'Koyach is in 7. Huh? Exactly. You'll see soon that the Kazus Magid brings down this Ana B'Koyach. It's very interesting about healing. But there's something about circling that you say the Ana B'Koyach. Ana B'Koyach is Shem Shel Gvura. And here's then Gam L'Hakif HaMatzeh V'Shel HaTzadik.
Ana B'Koyach is 6 words, 7
and 7 lines. Exactly. We're going to talk about excellent. We're going to get to that. Yeah, he doesn't say it over here, but you'll see soon from the Ari and from the Avodas Yisrael, he brings it down, this idea. So this idea of circling something. Okay, circling okay, this Shara Kavonis.
He brings down the
That's
Sefer
good.
Sharim from Parshas Shlach.
Yeah, he brings it down. But I just want to show you a Ramban. It's getting a little late, but there's a lot of interesting things there. But the Ramban, there's a famous shittas Ramban. Yeah, Shlomo, you printed out the Ramban?
I think so.
Okay, it's in B'chukoisach of Zion. So I'll have it over here also. There's a shittas Ramban, which is very interesting because the Ramban was a doctor himself, was a physician. The Ramban has a shitta like this. When the Klal Yisrael is in a good state, actually it's Refua. You won't need doctors. And then tzadikim oisim bezman Refuah. Bezman Refuah, the tzadikim were doing this. Even if they got sick because they felt it, they didn't go to doctors. Rak benavim, they never went to physical doctors. They went to the prophets. Okay. Then and he says, he brings out different gemaras that said that they didn't have to go to a Refuah. He said, and then when the Chazal Doirish, the Gemara Baba Kama says, that permission was given for a Refuah to get healed, he says, it doesn't say for the sick person. It doesn't say the sick person go to the healer. It says the Refuah can be Misapa. If the chayla is already sick and he comes to the doctor, then the doctor is a shus l'apis. He has permission to give the person healing. But be'emes, a person should not have to go to a doctor. The Taz in Yerideh Shilamid Vav brings down, he says, this is Be'erech, Zekiv, and at the end of the Taz, he says, and he brings down this Ramban. And if you look in the Taz, he has the same mahalach that if a person is a really a tzaddik, a person is a really a righteous person, a high madrega, you don't need to go to a doctor. And you can be healed, and everything will be fine. Okay, we missed the next page. Toyas Adam. No, that's Toyas Oila. Toyas Adam is from the Ramban. The Ramban wrote a sefer Toyas Adam, and in Toyas Adam, he quotes the same Ramban that he wrote in B'chukoisei about to be Misrapa. And he writes the same idea, that if you're a tzaddik and if you're a holy person, you're a refined person, then you won't need doctors. Shittas Ramban, Hayadua. But then he writes, he changes a little bit the language there, and he says that really it's a mitzvah for the Refuah to Misrap, to help people. And then he says that even if a person is not on the highest madrega of the tzaddik, you should always heal someone, because he brings down the Yerushalmi in a dorm. The Gemara talks about actually also having the Bavli, that if a person can be misrapim, begufay, b'moina, etc. So the Gemara, the Yerushalmi, the Lashon Yerushalmi is shaloi mikol adam zeichel yisrapis. That you don't merit to receive refuah from every single person. So therefore, the Ramban says So therefore, you could do this, and you could go to the doctor. What does the Ramban mean? Is like this. The Ramban is actually saying exactly what we're saying, which is.
Also, don't they have in the Gemara like of Hezek of damages is like a damage and
Sure, refuah. Yeah, refuah. Yeah, healing. Yeah.
The mashma.
Yeah, right. That's the same Gemara. So the question is like that. What the Ramban is basically saying is like this. I think what the Ramban is saying is that the Ramban is saying like this. The same thing what we were saying before. The Ramban is saying that there's madrega refuah, a doctor, healing, that comes from the 6th level, which is the doctor is the source of my it's from madrega of 6, which is the doctor is the source of my healing. And in the language of the Taz, I believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you see the Taz is that Hashem made him a shliach, all good zachen, all beautiful, that he's the right shliach to bring my refuah, and it's beautiful. Okay. But I subscribe to the healing, to the process of actual, whatever the medicine is given. I believe that's the shliach that Hashem gave me to receive that. But the healing actually comes because of this medicine. Let's say it's whatever the medicine is, that's the refuah from. Albeit, I believe that refuah comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this guy is the shliach. The madrega of 7 is, everything is perfect, which is madrega of the tzaddikim, or the people that are going to Nevi'im, which is, they don't need refuah on a physical level, and once a person, this is like a way of thinking about it. Once a person actually believes that everything is perfect, the actual mindset brings itself the healing. In other words, a lot of times people are sick. I'm not, obviously in certain cases, but a lot of healing is in the head, is in the mind. So when a person feels that they're sick, okay, I have this real bad injury or this sickness, and I really need to deal with this, and the doctor is my source of healing, and the doctor, I must make sure I have the right doctor, and I'm very busy with the doctor. Okay, that's fine. And even the doctor's a shliach of Hashem, fine. The other thing is saying, whatever the situation that I'm in, I trust this is the Ratzon Hashem, and I have complete faith. Once a person has this type of emunah, of the perfection of what is, that exactly the way it is, that in itself will allow the person to actually be healed. You see this a lot of times with people, certainly people that are trying to have children, and a lot of times when people are stuck in a certain thing, trying to create a result, trying to create a certain outcome, the moment they surrender to that, it's not, and they trust, that's when actually the outcome comes. So that's like the madrega of the 7 where healing comes. The highest level, which is that what the Ramban is saying is that there's even hashgacha in the doctor himself. That if I say on the level of 6, that because the lashon of the Ramban is b'darkei hateva or darkei hateva. Like the darkei hateva is I go to the doctor and the doctor heals me. So either I trust the doctor or I don't trust the doctor. If I trust the doctor with derech hateva, if I live a higher level, I'm derech hanes. I live in a miracle. But then you're saying that even in the derech hateva, which is the natural way of going to the doctor, lo mikolam zeichel lisrapis, which means that there's a certain schus, a certain hashgacha that the doctor, through this particular doctor, I'm receiving it. Let me say it in another oisius connected to Purim. It's a very very quickly. Achashverosh, the Rekanti writes, Achashverosh is Achris v'Reish Shaloi. Right? Every time it says the word Achashverosh, it's really like Kodesh Baruch Hu, Achris v'Reish Shaloi. Comes along a tzaddik and says like this. What's pshat? You can say it 2 ways. You can say pshat is that when you read the word Achashverosh, the first level pshat is Achashverosh. There's a guy named Achashverosh. That's his name. That's the story about this character. The second madrega is Achashverosh. When I learned about Achashverosh, we're not talking about Achashverosh. Who's Achashverosh? Achashverosh is not a guy. We're talking about Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's a story about us and Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's a story. Says the tzaddik, the higher madrega is the 3rd level. That Achashverosh is not a person. And in the person Achashverosh is Achris v'Reish Shaloi. You understand? That's a higher madrega. The higher madrega is not to say the person doesn't exist. The higher madrega is to say the person exists. And in the existence, he's just an instrument to bring Hashem's presence in this world. You follow? This is the madrega. The Shmini. That's the Shmini. That's the same thing with the doctor. So that when the Ramban says you shouldn't try, you don't go to a doctor, and then he says, but it could be that a doctor, the Ratzon Hashem, the Ramban is saying there is a madrega where you actually go to the doctor, and you go to the doctor, and you recognize that the doctor is a doctor, and the healing is a healing, but the healing itself is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, that's a more oimik level, and that's why Refeinu Hashem is dafke from Madrega of Arich. Refeinu Hashem v'nirafei v'alei arucha. Arucha is also lashon healing, but it's also Madrega of Arich Ampen, which means that comes from the Madrega of Keser. And if you have a few minutes, what's the verdict?
As opposed to the market.
It's exactly a makim mirah. You want to learn one on the shtickle?
Yes, please.
Okay, you came late, so Zishkanaya. Okay, I'm just going to read this. Aruch is lashon archam. Arich is lashon archam. Archam. That's the word. It's keser. If you look at Tefillin L'Moshe in the Ramak, it says Aruch Refuah Shleimel. That's the double language. That the Refuah comes dafke from Makom Arich, which is dafke the Makom 8. Arich is 8. It's the 8th madrega.
It's like the or that's shaykh to the kelim.
It's or shaykh to the kelim and it's beslavish in the kelim. Correct. Sheshem zeh shem the Arich ampen vatam shrefu nika rucha the heinem mesita the Arich. V'lanam rucha so meharich titzmach v'seder from nimshachas min hakeser. This is from Torah Sari. This is in Torah Saramak, but the Ari all it's the same thing. If you look in the second page, the page over here. There's too many pages. It's Mishnah over here, but the pages over there you'll see that Ari brings on the same thing. The whole biggest kavanah of the Ari. Okay, I'm going to read it very quickly. The Ari writes like this, because this is the way you can understand the Kazash and Margit's shtickle. Oh, I don't know. This turns this. Yeah, I think it turns out. I can't. Maybe, back upside down.
Screen lock it.
How do you do this?
I don't know.
Anyone knows? How do you screen lock 6? I think you upside down, no? It doesn't work either, huh? It has to go to the circle, exactly. Okay, I'll tell you anyways the sod. The sod, what? You have it? Refein Hashem v'nei Rafeh, the Rosh Tevis and Refein Hashem v'nei Rafeh is 216. 216 is Gvura, Shema Gvura. That's not the Vort, that's the other one, this one. Is it good? Okay. The makif of Arich Ampim in Tiferes. So you have Refein Hashem v'nei Rafeh is Gvura. Gvura is 216. 216 is 3 times Chesed. 3 times 72 is Gvura. Okay. Hoshiyena v'nushek is Silseinu Oto. The Rosh Tevis is Tevel. Tevel is 432. 432 is 4 times, is twice 216. So it's a double Gvura.
So it's 6 times Chesed.
So 6 times Chesed. Then if you do 216, 3 times 216, it's 648, which is Terachim. This is from Kavanas Ari, which means he's giving example from Tevel to Rachman. You see in the Kavanas Ari, which is that's why I say Melech Rachman Nata. What do you say Rachman? What does Rachman do? So Rachman is Aracham, right? You give him the Rachman. So you're mamshich of oil of Rachman, and he's saying is that in the oimik of Chesed is Gvura. Sometimes if you do too much Chesadim, what you're left with Chesed, if you do it like 3 times too much Chesadim, you end up with Gvuras. And sometimes the oimik of Gvura is actually Rachmanis, it's actually Tiferes. Why? Because sometimes to get to the bottom of something, the deeper you get to the bottom, it breaks open, and it breaks open, you have Rachmim. Something you have to hit wreck bottom to get somewhere, right? So the word is that the Terachim is Dafke from Madrega of Kisasein Oto is 6 times when you get it to that Madrega. Comes across the Maga says that if a Galach Soid, so that's why I thought it's interesting. He said, I'm going to reveal it to you a secret. What's the secret? Look, a Galach is a remez with Birchas Refeinu Hashem b'Mishman Eser. Refeinu Hashem v'Nerafei. So this is already from Taisari. Rosh Tevis Reish Yud Vav. Reish Yud Vav is Gevura. Mispare Gimel Pam Chesed. 3 times Chesed, 72 is 216. Hoishiyena v'Nivashek is the same Noata. Also from Dari. He doesn't quote it from Dari, but obviously it's from Dari. Rosh Tevis Gematria Tevel. You have, which is 232. 232 is twice 216. Gematria Shishu Pam Chesed. Ubechsimus HaBracha Refuah Chel Ami Yisrael. When you say Refuah Chel Ami Yisrael, Reish Ches Ayin Yud is Rosh Tevis Gematria Rapach, which is 288. Granted, this Kavanah is not brought down in Nari in Shar Kavanas, not in Eitz Chaim. The Rashash brings it down, and I found in the Sefer HaChizyonis from the Reb Chaim Vital. You know what the Sefer HaChizyonis is? If you don't, you should see it. The Sefer HaChizyonis is Reb Chaim Vital like off writing it on his own without his Rebbe's permission, freestyling, and he writes things. Whew. Anyways, Reb Chaim Vital over there quotes that when his father was sick, the Arizal told him to say, Rapach Netzoitzes, and then Rashash quotes him. So Rapach Dalapam Chesed. Rapach 288 is 4 times 72. Sach Hakel Yud Gimel Pam Chesed. So you have 13 times Gimel Chesed. 13 times Gimel Tzarachim Shem Misham Anam Mishich Ma Refuah, because that's where Refuah is Nimshach. Refuah is Gimel Tzarachim. Yud Gimel Tzarachim is Aracham Keser. And so he's bringing the all this Makarius into a very nice way. Kikel Melech Reif and Nemon and Rosh Tevis Amram. Kel Melech Reif and Nemon is Lutrikan Uriel Refal Michal Uriel. Beside Markavas Argaman. That's like Gemara, Lashon Gemara. These are the Dal Malach. Vam Malach Gavriel Nimon Rosh Tevis Vahale Ruchafu Shlema. Vahale Ruchafu Shlema. When you say the end, the Vahale Refuah Shlema Rosh Tevis Shoyer. Shoyer is for the Pnei Markava is Gvura. Gvura is like the Midas like Gvura, right? That's the Gvura. Sickness is from Gvura. Obviously, that's a restriction. Something's not being revealed. Shu Soida Gvura Shemakava. Mila Shoyer. Shoyer is how much? Is 506. Nimtek b'misparei Abagyatats. What's Abagyatats? It's the first name. The first shame, the first line, which is Chesed, which is a 6 times of the 7, is Abagyatats is Chesed, which is Gematria 506. So Yem Nimtek through on the Bekoyach. So again, Refuah is coming from the beginning of on the Bekoyach, which you saw from Yitzchak Kaduri was writing that, right? From circling. And then he writes weiter. Oi, Rosh Tevish Matzik Seni Doya Talumais. Oh, I'm sorry. Mila Shoy Nimtek was Oi, Rosh Tevish Matzik Seni Doya Talumais. Or from the Rosh Tevish Shmatzik Seni Doya Talumais. Something missing here. It's not. Sub 4 missing. No, I'm not going to find it. Where's this piece again? Shlomo? No, that ends there. That the Shmatzik Tzeni Yodei Talumois is the last line. The last line is actually Gematria Rishus, which is from Kavanas Ari. The shoyers of the word Rishus is shoyer. It's actually Rishus. It's Rishus is 5 is 7. I'm sorry. Rishus is Reish is 2. Shit is 3.
906.
It's 906. So without is shoy without the taf. Shoy without the taf. The book of shoy is that. Okay, it stops here. Stops here. V'hina aroifim, it should be really a kam here. That's the word. So what he's saying is that the shoyer sharafua, in simple Oisius, the shoyer sharafua is Yugimil Sarachman. Yomagimil Sarachman is Gala Dafur Fein Hashem and Erafe. And all the kavanas that you see throughout the tefillah, which you're trying to mean, is Arachampen. And it's Nemtak, the Dafkid Amtakas Adin of this Gvuras is particularly with the Anu B'Koyach. And he's with Starif, the Anu B'Koyach of the first line and the last line, the Anu B'Koyach Chesed and the Anu B'Koyach of Malchus. Why is it Starif the Anu B'Koyach? Because he's saying that that's really the Koyach of the Refuah comes from the same Shorish, which is the Makar of the Shashim of Chasadim and the Midas HaRachman. And that's because of the Makar of Refuah. So we shall be held.